The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Welcome to it. Tuesdays here. It's Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark, and can find us streaming on the Hail Varsity YouTube channel. Can watch the show that way. Can follow on the Hail Varsity Radio Twitter feed. Give us a follow there at HVarsity Radio, ESPN 590, Omaha, Twitter, KFOR, Facebook, and Twitter. Our friends out in central Nebraska, the Superstation, Kearney, Hastings, Grand Island, and up in the Northeast, Gus and the crew at News Talk 900 in Columbus. Numbers to get in, 489-1240, 489-1240, or 800-825-5865. Can email the show, Chris at HailVarsity.com, and make your comments known in the stream. Some things to talk about today. We'll dive into the tough news from Jordy Bahl. What's it mean? And more so, we may beat up the field conditions she was pitching on. We'll go there for a little bit. FanDuel is out with the win totals for the Big Ten projections. Where does Nebraska fall? We'll just get it out of the way. 7.5. We'll let you put your arms around that for 2024. Joe Lunardi is out with not only a nice number next to Nebraska basketball in this week's edition of the Crop Report, but not only a good number, but also a big-time venue where Nebraska will be potentially playing, if all things hold true. So that is also some things we'll get into. Before we get to fan mail for one Elijah Herbel, we will get into our roll call, our starting five. Mike is, he is in for, I think, maybe a third straight day if we go back to the weekend edition, or maybe last Friday, 3 out of the last 4. Mike is in with another sports quote. I loved Art Donovan, the old Baltimore Colts lineman. I'm a light eater. As soon as it's light, I start eating. Well done. Black Hills Brennan is in at second. Brandon, your third. Elijah, 4. Chuck, good to have you in at 5. Jeff in at 6. Anonymous checks in at 7. So we are rounding out 7. Let's give a couple more shout-outs here. Roger in at 8. Andrew, 9. Weston, thanks for checking in from West Point. And we'll get more of your comments as well. Prosthetic Pulse is also in.
How about this? Sandhill Quest.
Okay.
North Platte High School in the house. Is that the entirety of the high school?
I love it.
Everybody.
If we are streaming on your journalism class, thank you. We'll keep it above board today.
For that example?
Maybe.
If you're in journalism class listening to us,
it's all right.
I don't know about that choice.
No, it's all right. Drunk Monk is in. Good to have you. Jim is also checking in. So we've gone from 5 to 500, but we love you all. So thanks so much.
We did all go to college for this.
We did.
Just a note, but we all passed with flying C's.
But you don't have to.
I wasn't going to say that.
I am not.
So you're telling me I could call it quits about 3 months before graduation, right?
I don't know that mom or dad would let you do that.
I'll tell them it's your idea.
No. I am proud of my undergraduate degree. I remember a couple of things with just being a part of Nebraska. I did my undergraduate at Nebraska. I'm like 6 hours short of a master's. And that is my way of saying, yes, I have student loans. And I'm slow paying them. But, let the juice run, right? But no, I mean, Nebraska, I grew up here, spent a year in South Dakota after Nebraska, got hired by the Salt Dogs out of college. It was phenomenal. I just loved the experience. But at Nebraska, loved the broadcasting program. I can't say enough about it. And lifelong friends from that college. And my buddy Mark Cranack, I mean, him and I did college radio together. That goes back to 1998. That goes back to the Bobby Newcomb, Carell Buchalter hour. We were trying to do radio. So, and we still get to do a show once a week, which is great. I love it. I love the fact that my late father dropped me off. My one game I got to do for radio play-by-play was Nebraska, Colorado 2000. He dropped me off in front of the stadium that morning, and he dropped me off when I went to graduate at Devaney Center. So, and I was sweating my ass off because I had Spanish class after a 4-year hiatus from high school Spanish. I did not pass to having to take it in college. But yeah, it was all good. Loved ones that are no longer with us were in the crowd. Proof is right here, and I've got a nice frame for it. I don't have it hung up, but no, I can't. There's my spiel about the University of Nebraska.
Treated me well, got my diploma, and allows me to get on the radio every single day and be a Kansas City Chiefs homer.
Yes.
Noted Kansas City Chiefs fan.
Stay in school, Connor, is what we're telling you. Don't do drugs and stay in school. Let us get to the fan mail before we get to the nuts and bolts of today's show. Elijah, you've been called a lot of things, my friend.
This is a first for me.
This is. You've been called considerate. You've been called intelligent.
Is this at the top of the list for offensive things that you've ever been called?
Well, that's where we're going. You've been called a hard worker. You've been called compassionate. I'm just going through all the things that I know about you, working with you.
Been called an idiot plenty on the baseball field.
Sure. And you cleaned it up again for the journalism class in North Platte.
Yeah.
It may have gone a little further south with the name calling. But have you ever in your life been called a homer? Not just a homer, a Chiefs homer. Please enlighten us here. And we love the feedback. Good, bad, or ugly. We love the feedback. We'll hit it all. And you got called a Chiefs homer yesterday.
Yeah, this comes from Michael in our YouTube comments following the show. So not one of the live viewers, but one after the fact. Said, I sound like a Chiefs homer with my take on Travis Kelce.
Just to reset.
And I am not upset, nor am I all that disturbed by Travis' actions
offended?
during
the game. Are you
game.
offended by being called a Chiefs homer? Let's go there.
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, you are. Just say it. Just admit it.
Every day I read through the YouTube comments that we get just to make sure. You know, we like to read the comments, good, bad, or ugly. This is probably the first time I've sent you guys each a message saying, can you guys believe this? So
it was a screenshot.
Read into that how you will. This is the first time I've ever sent the message to you guys and being like, get a load of this. I think it's funny. Am I slightly offended? Maybe, especially after yesterday, going the long spiel of saying I am the resident Kansas City Chiefs hater, but I'm going to be professional today, and I give my professional opinion, and now I'm a Chiefs homer.
Look, all I'm saying is if I was ever called a Packers homer, I'd be livid. So
I
know there's a part of you.
You'd flip the table and ask someone to step outside.
There's a part of you that's bothered by this. I know
there's a part of me that thinks it's funny that the one time I decided to be professional and give the Chiefs their flowers and, be straight down the middle following a Super Bowl victory, which irked me like no other.
No slant whatsoever.
People now go, this guy. This guy's just a Chiefs
converted.
homer.
That's funny.
So yeah, that was a surprise to my system this morning whenever I read that comment. But I'm gonna stick to my guns and say I am not disturbed by the actions of Travis Kelce. I don't think it was unwarranted. I think it is overblown. In the simplest way I'm going to put it before we dive too deeply into a conversation that we hit too much yesterday is that in the same way that a coach can earn the respect of his players, that which allows him to get fiery on the sideline. You think of guys like Bo Pelini, Sean Payton. The guys that they get fiery with on the sideline are people that they know they have the respect of, and these players do not take it personally because they respect their coach so much. I think that can go two ways, especially once you get to the NFL and you have guys that are making a boatload of money and have won Super Bowls and have really helped define Andy Reid's tenure. I think you can sit back and say, you know what, there's a respect that goes between Andy Reid and Travis Kelce the same way that a coach can yell at a player. In this circumstance, this specific circumstance, Travis Kelce can yell at his coach, and I think it's evidenced by the fact that Andy Reid listened to the advice of Travis Kelce in that moment. There was no retribution. Travis Kelce did not get benched for a series. You did not see any conversations between Reid and Kelce on the sideline where Reid looked disturbed by the situation at all. That's where I'll leave it. respect goes both ways, and I think the rest of that game showed that Andy Reid respects Travis Kelce enough to allow that to happen in that moment. We're going to get more thoughts on that.
They're both good with it, and Rodgers' take, the Broncos still like you, Elijah. It's okay. Your donkey card has not been revoked. You know what's not professional? Kelce bumping his head coach. Ding, 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 ding.
Elijah crime.
Politi at Team Magic. That was not respect. You know what wasn't respect? Going to your phone in the locker room.
But like my.
But Roger, I totally get you. That was a bad look. The bow cam was on fire that night.
But my point here is imagine, if you will, the 2009 season. If Ndamukong Suh were to go yell at Bo Pelini and say, hey, we need some more offense, we're playing our balls off out here, I think in that moment, Bo Pelini would have respected that he is the best player in the country on his team, and he would not have benched Suh or been angry at Suh. You have a player in a big-time moment who is frustrated that he doesn't feel like the effort or the game plan is being reciprocated by how well he's playing. I don't think Bo Pelini would have responded poorly to Suh getting angry at him on the sideline.
Did this happen in the Big 12 championship game? Not to go there.
It didn't. It's full hypothetical.
No, it is hypothetical. And I think there's enough crazy in their eyes that even Big Suh would not test Carl nor Bo. We'll have to get Searle's take on this.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah. At some point. But
because I don't think you can use Martinez as the example for what Travis Kelce is to that Chiefs team. You're talking the best tight end in the world right now, if not the best tight end in history. There's a different level of respect that comes with that. And
he isn't the best tight end in history. Going Gronk.
He's making a good argument.
I'm going Gronk.
Look at longevity.
Yeah, I'm going Gronk.
I'm going to be a full Chiefs homer and say you're wrong.
I think it's Greg Olsen. I'm just kidding. I'm not a homer. What?
Who is a tight end for the Bears for years? I'm going to go Mitch Crank. I'm going to be the Husker homer and say Mitch Crank from the 85 Bears. The news that is out, and this was posted on Jordy Bahl's Instagram, the Husker standout, Jordy's going to miss the remainder of the 2024 season, suffering a knee injury in Nebraska's first game of this season. Ball's going to apply for a medical hardship for this season, expects that hardship to be granted. Ball will have 2 years of eligibility for 2025-2026. And we wish her the best. We wish Husker softball the best. A lot of season left, a lot of talent there for Coach Herbel. And just gut-wrenching, and you have a lot of Nebraska fans that are just sick for Jordy. And Jordy's a competitor. She's a fighter. She'll respond. You've shown me pictures of the facility in Puerto Vallarta. And it just, all I know, dude, is what you have at Bulin and what you have at Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. Way back when I covered the women's softball World Series, and it was awesome. Nebraska was there with Peaches James and company. That was a fun trip and fun team. But I mean, facilities vary, I get, but I just hope that that's not why we've got a knee injury.
Well, I'll just say this comes from.
I don't want a lawsuit either. I'm just saying you want optimal conditions.
This was coming from a source that remains anonymous, but I can say this individual who texted this to me is somebody who works for another Power 5 softball program, a high-level softball program in this country. And
that you see in Oklahoma City quite often?
Yes. They work for this softball program, and they said that their program only goes and plays in the tournament in Clearwater, the ESPN Wide World of Sports complex. Right. That's the only preseason neutral site tournament that they'll play in, or I guess early season neutral site tournament that they'll play in ever, because that's the only site that they trust the field conditions to be up to a Division I Power 5 level. That's the only one they'll go play.
The field you showed me looked like the field my father and his softball buddies played on.
The field in Field of Dreams was better than this one, and that was in a cornfield.
Okay.
And I understand I was not playing on the field, and sometimes you can't get the feel for how good a feel is unless
you're
actually on it. But optically, it didn't look great, and you combine that with the text I get from my buddy, who I trust his opinion on this, working with a very high-level softball program, that they wouldn't go play down in Mexico.
They kind of refuse, don't they?
Yes.
They say, we aren't going to Mexico to play softball.
We go to one facility, and that's the tournament in Clearwater. So I guess read into that how you will. but I don't think it speaks greatly, especially considering what seems to be a pretty freak knee injury where your foot gets kind of caught in the dirt. Jordy Bahl is a high-level softball player that has pitched at a lot of facilities, and not saying she's not prone to make a mistake in that moment, but I think you look more at the field than something being biomechanically wrong with her delivery that leads to a knee injury.
Right. That's a good way to put it. Scott chimes in back on the fan mail, Elijah. Kelsey's a punk, his football talent notwithstanding. He's a twit who thinks his opinion on everything but football matters. There's a lot of folks that are fatigued by the Chiefs. There's even more Travis Kelce fatigue. I like Big Yeti. I like his brother. In fact, his brother was rocking the dude sweater today going through the airport because he didn't look hungover at all after being in Vegas from the Big Lebowski. So I get a kick out of them. Love their candor. Their passion's pretty good. And you just don't go run up on your coach. That's me. I don't disagree that times have changed. I have slowly changed with some times. We'll get Matt Vrzal's take on this. Excited to talk to Verz. Love his thoughts on things. Mat Schick, ESPN, and Schick and Nick show going to be with us in the 5 o'clock hour. We'll get going with Mitch Sherman from The Athletic, his take on the Jordy Bahl situation. We'll ask Mitch what he thinks about the FanDuel win totals. We'll dive into that as well. It's Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager.
It's that time.
Hey, Mitch. Mitchie. We're looking for you, pal.
Mitch Sherman from The Athletic, talking Big Red.
Unleash the fury, Mitch.
Unleash the fury!
On Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, it's Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark. We welcome in Mitch Sherman from The Athletic at Mitch Sherman. On Twitter is where you follow him. You read him with The Athletic. Mitch, how's your Tuesday? Thanks for the time, man.
Nice Tuesday. How are you guys?
We're good. Elijah's gotten some fan mail that was not flattering.
Can you believe this, Mitch? And you spend enough time together on the Average Joe Sports Show that you know enough about me. I've been called a Kansas City Chiefs homer, which is just, it's out there. It's out there, and I think that the people who would be saying that don't truly know me.
Sounds outrageous. I don't know what to say. I'm not. Where did they get that from, Elijah?
We're just talking Kelsey and Andy Reid bump during the Super Bowl yesterday. And Elijah's thoughts were different than mine and different from most of Americans.
I'm defending Travis Kelce in this circumstance, and apparently that makes me a Chiefs homer.
You know, I'm kind of with you. I think if you've earned a certain level of ability to just basically do whatever you want, and that's where Travis Kelce's at within the football environment. Now, he can't go out in the streets and do whatever he wants, although I guess that's open for debate. But he's untouchable, and that's what we saw. I think any just about anybody else. Now, Mahomes could do that, but anybody else bumps their coach in that fashion, and they're going to be taking a seat on the bench for the rest of the game. But Travis can do it, and if you can do it, you might as well just go ahead and take advantage of your freedoms.
Go bump Big Red.
Why not? As long as you don't hurt him.
Sure.
Would hate to see Andy Reid go down and get hurt, especially in the Super Bowl. Really, anytime.
That would not have been good.
Andy Reid's the kind of guy that would coach through it, though.
I think so too. Mitch, no easy transition when we talk injury, but you have a story up, and Jordy Bahl on Instagram announcing she's done for this year with a knee injury, and we were all kind of holding our breath for the best news, and that was not to be. She'll battle back. She's an incredible competitor, but tough news for Nebraska softball.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And as the days went on, and once Nebraska as a team got back to Lincoln on the weekend, and we got into Monday, and there had been no word, and I know a lot of people, including myself, had inquired about a prognosis, a report on her injury with the school. And when nothing had come out, I think the longer that it went, it was more ominous. And, today just confirmed, I think what a lot of fears were, and that it is a serious injury. And, fortunately, Jordy pitched just 2 innings this season, so she'll have no issue at all getting a medical hardship season for 2024. And I don't think there's a way to spin it and say, well, this gives her time to settle in, to look at things from a different perspective, because there wasn't really the need for that. Jordy went through an injury in her freshman year at Oklahoma that caused her to miss some time. She's been back home in Nebraska since June, so this debut was a long time coming. It's not like she got here 2 months ago and there she goes out on the field and didn't get the chance to soak it all in. She's had several months for this to soak in, and the time was right for her to go out and lead Nebraska through a memorable season. But I'm sure when she comes out next year and is healed and is stronger because of this and has had the perspective of sitting in the dugout with Nebraska for a season, and certainly in 26 when she's playing, presumably, and otherwise would not be at Nebraska, if something special can happen in that season, then we'll look back at this with a different perspective. But really today and for the near future, the next several months, it's just a tough pill to swallow, because she was such a superstar on the softball field, and somebody that even if you weren't a softball a follower of the sport, I think you were excited as someone who follows Nebraska to see what she was going to be able to do in that uniform.
Yeah, Mitch,
we'll have to wait 12 months.
Today feels like a gut punch, and one of the places we went back in segment 1, I'm not asking you to go there, is kind of looking at the field conditions they were playing on in Mexico, and that's a natural place that people go. You always go there in the NFL when somebody tears a knee at MetLife Field. Well, that field must be cursed, but you really do look at that field that they were playing on in Mexico, and you have some questions about just how up to the standard of Division I Power 5 softball that this was. And again, I'm not asking you to make any statements on that field. We haven't been there. We haven't walked the field. We don't truly know. But in such a moment such as that, the third inning of your first start, it's just such a gut punch. And I guess maybe Husker fans just kind of want some answers on why.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there were other injuries. And I mean, it's dirt. It's not like a football field where you could have loose turf or holes in the chunks out of the grass. I mean, she wasn't running in the outfield when this happened. It wasn't coming off of a mound. In baseball, field conditions can be an issue if the mound's not tended to properly. But I mean, it's a flat surface, presumably a flat surface, and it's just dirt. I mean, I don't know that Mexican dirt is any different than Nebraska dirt or Oklahoma dirt, but and it's not like Nebraska was there with a bunch of underfunded softball programs that were looking for a cheap trip. It was Oklahoma was in this tournament. A pretty good softball program. Washington, Nebraska played Duke in this tournament, so I don't know. Obviously, I didn't walk on the field, didn't see it, didn't even really see much more than some video clips of it. But I in softball on the infield, I guess I'm skeptical that it had much to do with anything other than it just being a freak injury.
Mitch, you talked about that this is a very long-awaited debut and obviously a homecoming for Jordy Bahl. If you're the team or just even Coach Herbel mentally, like, how do you move on and move forward from this? Obviously, they've probably known for a little bit longer than the public has, but how do you move on from such a big storyline and a big injury like this?
I mean, injuries are part of the sport, and this is, I know that from a public standpoint, people have looked at Nebraska softball, and Jordy became the face of the program when she announced her transfer. But in the reality is in their locker room, in their dugout, they've got veterans. The Andrews sisters have been around this program for a long time, and the sad thing is, there's a lot of sad things, but one of the long-lasting sad things that you can't really put a positive spin on, like saying, hey, she's going to be out there in 2026 when she otherwise wouldn't be, is that she's not going to have the chance to play now with the women who were seniors on this team. And some of them, she has long histories with, and this was a reunion that they were very excited about. And, it's turning the page for Jordy from a competitive standpoint to 2025. But for the players on this team, they're going to have to just have resolve and be tough. I don't know what their situation is like at pitcher. That's obviously the biggest concern. When you have Jordy Bahl, you think you're pretty set. In softball, one pitcher can handle a big workload and do most of your heavy lifting. And I'm sure that's what they expected from her this year. Somebody else is going to have to really step up, probably more than just one player. So it may not be the season that they were dreaming of, but that's in their hands. They can go multiple directions from this and feel sorry for themselves, or they can show a lot of resolve, as other teams have done, not just at Nebraska, but all over the place when a star player gets injured and make something special this year. But, we'll find out over the next 3 or 4 months.
Mitch Sherman's with us from The Athletic, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, going to go to win totals. As over the weekend, FanDuel put out win totals for the Big Ten. Ohio State and Oregon regular season at 10.5. Michigan, Penn State at 9.5. And how does this grab you with Nebraska at 7.5 as we look towards the fall?
Yeah, it was an eye-opener. I would have thought, and if they're all on the halves, I would have maybe thought that it would be slotted at 6.5 at this time. But that has to do with the schedule, and Michigan coming off the Nebraska schedule, although Ohio State's coming on, and just when Michigan loses its coach and is expected to take a step back in the progression of its program, the Wolverines go off the Nebraska schedule, and the Buckeyes come back on. And the Buckeyes, Ohio State appears possessed in this offseason to do whatever is necessary, whether it's bringing in multiple 5-star quarterbacks or replacing one new offensive coordinator who was a former NFL coach with another new offensive coordinator who was a former NFL coach. It seems that Ryan Day is going to leave no stone unturned. So that's obviously a really difficult game on the Nebraska schedule to go to Columbus next year. But it's just one game, and that 7.5 number, it looks to me to be like that. It shows a sign of optimism, that there's a feeling around the betting public, in this whoever sets this line, the handicappers, that Nebraska is going to be an improved program in 2024. And I think people feel that way in Nebraska. It's interesting to see that sentiment has spread outside of the state here, only just in February, early portion of the offseason.
Mitch, it feels like just about every single year there's a team that is projected to finish with 4 or 5 wins that really exceeds expectations. Last year, Northwestern exceeded expectations. I think 2 years ago, you probably go with Purdue and Aiden O'Connell. 3 years ago, we probably go Northwestern again. You go back to 2020, it's Indiana exceeding expectations.
Illinois jumped up.
Oh, Illinois, a couple years ago as well. When you look at some of the teams that are projected low, you have Minnesota predicted for 4.5. Purdue is predicted for 4.5. Northwestern also picked for 5.5. Illinois is at 5.5. Which of those teams that is predicted near the bottom of the conference do you think could make a jump up and get to bowl eligibility?
Well, it seemed that Northwestern was a lot. I was going to say those numbers seem like they're based in large part off of the recent memory of what these teams did in 2023, and then I heard you say Northwestern, and Northwestern had a dream season, considering where the Wildcats were projected in July after Pat Fitzgerald was removed just before the preseason began. So I'm surprised to see that Northwestern is down there in the bottom group, and that's kind of where Northwestern is when it stages one of those great seasons. When the Wildcats struggle is when there are expectations for them. So if they end up down, projected to have a losing record, then I'll just go ahead and say Northwestern's going to be good in 2024. But among the rest of them, I haven't gotten to the point, where I'm studying rosters for next season, even in the remnants of the Big Ten West, which is usually the teams that we follow more closely around here in Nebraska. I guess that's not the case anymore. But I haven't even accepted that reality yet, that the Big Ten is a divisionless creature, and all of these programs need to be viewed the same. You've got 18 schools to dive into in the off season, so. Just based off what you read right there, I'm going to say Northwestern is the one that overachieves.
Mitch, appreciate the time as always. We'll get caught up again soon. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Good stuff from Mitch Sherman. Big thanks to him. Can find him on the podcast, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. The full show or the interviews you want to check out with Hail Varsity. Also find us on the YouTube channel, Hail Varsity. Subscribe to that. You can catch each episode in its full entirety. Video-wise, Connor Clark with us, Elijah Herbel, Chris Schmidt. Want to remind you about your friends at Dyer Law. Personal injury. If you've been hurt in a personal injury accident, you can count on Dyer Law and the team to provide you with a helping hand when and where you need it, no matter what you're dealing with. Call Dyer Law today at 402-393-7529 or visit Dyer.law to chat with a trusted professional about your personal injury claim. Dyer.law, that's Dyer.law, 402-393-7529. Let's talk win totals. We've alluded to it with Mitch. We talked about it to start the show. 7.5. And I'm going to be blindly optimistic and say give me the over. There, I said it. There's spring ball. There's spring attrition. There's summer workouts. There's fall camp. There's injuries. There's avoiding injuries. And I think above all, what I look at for the why, I say give me the over 7.5 on February the 13th. Because of the quarterback situation, it'll be better because it can't be worse. It'll be better. And quite frankly, you've got a bunch of dudes coming back. The returning production, Bill Conley has that out. Nebraska leads Big Ten in returning production. On top of that, you add in the production you can anticipate with guys that have produced at other schools. Never an exact science, totally get it, but give me the over. I like Nebraska at least to get to 8.
Why on earth, though, would you say, I think the quarterback play is going to be better because it can't get worse?
Why?
You know
because
the program you're talking about, Nebraska, over the past decade has been the definition of Murphy's Law. Anything that can't go wrong has gone wrong. It has,
and
don't put that out there.
No, it can't go worse, and it can't. You've got a real quarterback coach now, and you got 3 guys to coach up at quarterback. All right? You got an offensive line that'll have a buttload of combined starts. You got 3 running backs to choose from on top of 2 guys that have played a lot of football for you. They're going to be trying to get back from injury. I like the receiving core. I like the tight end options. And I love the defense. And, yeah, Mr. White is back for another year. Give me that with an offense that can score some points and not rely on 3 plays a game. Give me 8. Now, the schedule, fellas, is not great, but it's not been great for Nebraska. I mean, they've the way they end is a death march. And, yeah, it's UCLA, it's at USC, it's Wisconsin, it's Iowa. Started off at Ohio State on the 26th. It could be real good early, and it could be hang on for dear life to get to 8. I know let's start with talking about getting to 6, but I think Matt Rhule feels all right about the jump they can make, and Brandon Vogel alerted us to this, and it's in his counter read story today. It is really the window right now for Nebraska because everything's new. The deck's been reshuffled, fellas, for the Big Ten, and some teams will adjust or already, doesn't matter where they play, they're just good, i.e. Oregon. Ohio State looks loaded. They're really loaded. And then there's some other options there. I mean, Michigan and Penn State, do they jump up to 11? Do they stay at 11 if you're Michigan? You get to that 10-win number in the Big Ten with this schedule, with the way games are staggered, and that's not a compliment. I mean, it's playoff football every week, especially once you get to November for a lot of the league. You get to 10 wins, I think you're a playoff consideration for sure.
Well, let me just throw something out there. Whenever you look at Nebraska and then the 7.5, let's go through Nebraska's first 7 games, their chance to get within striking distance.
UTEP, Colorado, Northern Iowa, Illinois, Purdue, Rutgers, at Indiana.
Yeah, you have UTEP, which I don't know their projected win total, but I'll confidently say right now Nebraska should win that.
You need to be
game.
7-0 going into Ohio State.
I'm getting there. You go to Colorado, their projected win total by Vegas is 6.
I feel like
in
it's
a conference
this conversation.
Well, Colorado is at 6 in a conference that is not as strong as the Big Ten, so you can say Vegas is projecting Nebraska to be a better football team than Colorado. I know schedules are a little bit unique, but I'm just going to paint with a broad brush there and say Vegas is expecting Nebraska to be better than Colorado. So throw that out there. Potential start 2-0. Northern Iowa, another expected win. You get to Illinois. Illinois' projected win total in the same conference as Nebraska is set at
5.5.
5.5. I'd make sure I had that right. 5.5 is the win total. So again, projected Nebraska to be a better football team there. Then you get to Purdue, whose win total is set at 4.5. Again, Nebraska projected to be the better football team. Rutgers, we're getting in the month of October now. Rutgers is projected at 5.5 wins. Again, Nebraska projected to be the better football team. And I want to say, before I go much further, is that it should be noted there's always a little bit of a Nebraska sway in Vegas, that Vegas knows they're still going to make money off of Husker fans. If they move that line up a little bit, they're still going to get the overs. So let's throw that out there. But again, Nebraska is projected by Vegas to be better than every single one of these teams that you started off in the first 5 games of the season.
Look, all I took away...
Actually, 6 games. Sorry, and then we'll finish off with Indiana.
Yeah.
5.5 wins. Again, Nebraska's expected to be the better team than Indiana. Is Nebraska going to start 7-0? I'm not going to promise it, but the possibility is out there whenever you consider Vegas. They're generally
Be a homer 2 days in a row.
They're generally pretty good at this. Nebraska does have a path to start the season 7-0. That's what I'll say.
All I'm going to say is what I took away from Mitch is that Nebraska's win total should be at 6.5, and Northwestern's going to the college football playoff next year. That's what I've taken away. But on a serious note, 7.5 is... I want to say it's accurate, and I know that I don't want to jump on like can a freshman quarterback get you 8 wins right out the gate, but he's not every freshman quarterback that you get every year. So that's a difference. You mentioned what you bring back. The defense was awesome. Will they be as good as they were last year? That's asking a lot.
They may not have to be.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, and again, the way the first 7 games plays out, on paper, I think 7.5 is fine, but then, again, we've seen so many instances where, Nebraska, if they get to this point, all they need to do is win 1 more to get to this next point, and then they can't do it. So
you're bringing up bad memories.
Yeah, we'll see how it happens. So I think 7.5, though, for February 13th is pretty accurate.
Win total-wise, to kind of follow through the rest of the schedule that you were talking about, Elijah, UCLA is what, at 5.5 right now?
Yes.
Yeah,
USC's at 7.5, so coin flip with Nebraska, right? Even though that's a road game. Whiskey's at 6.5, so you're scheduled or projected to win more than Wisconsin by a full game. And then Iowa's right there with you. So even if you drop one at Ohio State, at USC, and at Iowa, do you get Wisconsin at home finally, forever? Do you get UCLA at home finally and forever ago? Maybe. And then you win your first 7. You don't bleep the bed. You're at 9 right there. You're at 9-3 regular season.
But again, the question: you don't bleep the bed.
I know.
Can they not bleep the bed?
Especially with what is likely a freshman quarterback who's probably going to make some freshman quarterbacking mistakes.
Exactly.
All these has to be factored in. I think the line's about right, though, to finish up this conversation, because if the total was set at 7, I would lean towards the over. If it was set at 8, I'd lean towards the under. And with it set at 7.5, I want to stay the hell away, which means Vegas did their job.
Yeah.
Yes.
They are getting
that means it's accurate.
They're getting their 10%, and they're going to get way more of that. I think Nebraska fans are going to look at this right now, here and now, and say, let's just run to the book, baby, and put a hundy down. We'll wind down hour 1. Matt Vrzal coming up here to kick off hour 2.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time this hour, Matt Vrzal, Mat Schick. Next hour, it's Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark, 489-1240, 489-1240. Got to do it right now. Are you going the over or the under with the FanDuel win total? 7.5 right here, right now. That's the number Nebraska's at. What say you? Can send an email, chris@hailvarsity.com. And in the stream, where you at? You at 8? You at 9? You at above that? You at 7? You at 6? Or are you worse than that? Hey, no wrong answer. Jump on the stream, Hail Varsity YouTube channel. And Elijah, you, I think, put it pretty well with what folks may be wrestling with last season, both sides of the football.
Yeah, last year. You had a 3-9 offense combined with a 9-3 or 10-2 defense. What do you get? You get 5-7. The question kind of becomes, has this offense improved enough that you can feel confident Nebraska would hit the over from 5-7 to 8-4 if they're 4 points better in every single game last year.
Mm-hmm.
And you're probably at that 9-3, 10-2 mark if you're 7 points better every single game. So you have to kind of look through the offense because you have so much returning production on defense. I think that defense is likely to be able to match its performance from last season or get close to its performance from last season, if not improve upon it. So it kind of comes down to the offense. How much do you trust a freshman quarterback? Do you trust a freshman quarterback to get you to 8? Do you have an 8-win offensive line? What's your receiving core like following a couple of transfer portal additions with Banks and Nayor? Do those guys make you think you have an 8-win receiving core? Kind of some questions you have to wrestle with.
When you bring in Glenn Thomas to tutor your quarterbacks and help be a part of this offense, right, with Sat, with Rule, with Raiola, Donnie, and quarterback, I think you can absolutely say you should have an 8-win offense. Here and now. Injuries are a mother. I know. Problem. The fact that they were knocking on bowl eligibility and going into November with all their injuries was very interesting. Reminder about buckling up. Use your seatbelt. It saves lives. It prevents injuries. Only if properly worn. Make it click. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. I want your guys' take on this. Our dear friend Shooter McGavin on Twitter.
Oh, no.
The box score for the 2024 Waste Management Open. Impressive, says Shooter. Calls for service in 2022, 440. 2023, 558. They were just over 650 calls to fire or police in 2024. The arrests jumped from 0 in 2022.
I find that number hard to believe.
To 54 arrests. I'm shocked it's below 100 based on the social media I saw.
0 1 year?
0 in 2022. Ejections. They went from 90 to 211. Trespassing charges. 14 to 73. Man,
people got juiced up for this year.
I'd be curious.
It was debauchery.
I'd be curious. I go to the stream here. I question if our good friend Crew is in the stream today because he spent his weekend at the Waste Management Open.
How many of those calls to service were Crew?
How many of those arrests were Crew?
Crew may not want to use that phone call on us.
Yeah, he's just in his jail cell watching Hail Varsity Radio.
It would count as like 50 calls. You'd be the king of callers. Matt Vrzal's coming up. Hail Varsity Hour 2. We're powered by Cornhead Lager.
The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Back into it, Hour 2. It's Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, and Connor Clark. We welcome in Paisan's Pizza Man, Matt Vrzal, with us at Verz51. Are you headed down to Texas, my friend, this week?
No, I am not. My mom, sister, brother-in-law, and nephew are all heading down there.
Yeah. We're excited for Max and Husker baseball, and I was just wondering if you were taking a breather or if you get such a thing. Do you get a breather?
I do. I've just got some other stuff coming up and, love Maximo to death, but there's no guarantee that the freshman's going to be playing in the game. So
no, I get it. So is there any Uncle Verz story time here with wiffle ball and you maybe throwing at your nephew, or did the nephew try and bean you? Any hilarity you can shed light on?
I was back in the day when Butenbach Chiropractic was starting up. I was the Sunday babysitter.
Uh-oh.
Maybe a Saturday. So I would go out to their house, and Cashman wasn't born yet, so I'd be watching golf, and Maximo would be doing his thing, and so he came running up, and he said, "I golf." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever." And he kept kind of pestering me, so he had a little plastic set of clubs, and we went outside, and, I'm just like, all right, whatever, dude, give her a rip. See what happens. So he kind of rears back, and their neighbor was mowing.
Oh, no.
And he destroys this little wiffle ball golf ball. But, they're big. He's a little kid. He's 2 or 3, whatever. And it kind of whizzes by the guy's head, and he looks at me like I hit it. And I just kind of point at Max. I was like, it wasn't me, though. And so he shuts off his mower. He goes, did he hit that? I was like, yeah. Do you think he can do it again? I was like, let's see. So I went and sat it up in front of him again, and he smacked another one and went a little bit further. And he said, ever done that before? I was like, not to my knowledge. I was like, I'm here on Saturday, bud. And I was like, it's just kind of my deal. So you knew he had real good hand-eye coordination. I love baseball. Baseball is my favorite sport. I will go watch baseball games all day, and it's just awesome. But the thing that kind of differentiates, and I got lucky to hear it in college, I'm not making the comparison, they're the same, but when people that really can square up a baseball hit it, like Hurrdat used to hit it, it makes a different noise. And so I didn't get a chance to watch Max play a whole bunch, but when they played in the state championship game his junior year, I went and watched him play, and he hit a couple, and it made a similar noise. It didn't make the Hurrdat noise. The Hurrdat noise will always be stuck in my head. But, Maximo gets a pretty good lick on it. He hits it real well, and he's fast. We can't piece that one together, how that came about, because his daddy and his mom and me, nobody's real quick. So he just kind of had that thing, where Cash, the other nephew, chooses violence. Maximo chooses the sweet left-handed swing that he's got.
Verz, I want to get into some win totals. FanDuel put out win totals for Nebraska and the Big Ten. How does 7.5 grab you for Nebraska 2024?
It would stick, kind of right where I'm looking for them to progress to. I was in the camp that 6 last year was a good season. You sniffed around it. 7.5 for the over better is tough. That's a 3-game move to win that over bet. So for me, if they're at 7, I'm perfectly content. Am I going to try to sweat out a half? No. But Vegas kind of sees it the same way. They think that's a 7-win team. And Vegas knows how to set a line to get a lot of Nebraska money, so they'll profit on that because Nebraska fan will be at 10 or 11. So it's probably a right number for those that think about it in a realistic fashion. It'd be great progress for year 2 if they did get to 8 and hit that over. So it's probably right on pace.
Matt, something that stood out to me throughout the offseason is, obviously the transfer portal is just ridiculous now. The fact that Matt Rhule has been able to retain a lot of guys who had a pretty decent amount of success on both sides of the ball last year. What do you make of that, and what does that say about Coach Rhule?
It speaks volumes just to how their vision is how they execute their vision. Okay, there's the grass for eternity will be greener on the other side, right? So you're taking kids that are on your team, they're in your program, and they know that at times you're hard on them, and at times you love them up, and they're being treated like men. And I think that's really the only thing any of them can ask. Even the guys that have left, from what I've heard, it's been explained, hey, this is the scenario for next year. If you're good with that, we're happy to have you. If it doesn't fit your vision of your career, we totally understand. And that, I think too many football coaches of all levels now are used car salesmen. Oh, no, buddy, it's fine. You'll be right in the mix next year. When they know in their mind they're not. Maybe it's just humanity. All you wanted to be treated as a human is somebody can have an honest discussion with. Tell me honestly what it is. And then you go from there. So it speaks volumes to not only Coach Rhule, but his staff and Coach Campbell and everybody, everything that they're doing up there. They're building something different. It's not something that's going to be a fly-by-night type of deal. They're building stability, which we've been lacking for quite a while. We've tried to rebuild this organization on multiple foundations, and none of them have been installed worth a damn. So he's doing a little different, and it's good to see guys stay around. And because I know the work that's going into it, it's not the country club life that it once was up there. there's blood, sweat, tears, and pain going into it now. So it's exciting, and I really look forward to see them progress on how they're going to do it.
It's Matt Vrzal with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Matt, whenever you look ahead to the next couple of months to combine these previous two topics with the amount of returners, and of course we're expecting to see probably a little more attrition following spring football as some more roles get clearly defined. But how important is this spring going to be in terms of Nebraska getting to that 7.5 win total, hitting the over on that, if you will? What is the importance of spring in that regard?
The spring season, it's kind of like moving day at the Masters. It's an opportunity for those guys that may be on the fringe of getting more playing time to going into workout sessions where you're becoming bigger, you're becoming faster, you're becoming stronger. And then when you get to actual spring practice where you're in conceptually, there's no limit on how much film you individually want to watch. You can become great on your own at the game of football by just watching film. So there's no limit on that. And those things now are tracked and they're noticed by coaches. Hey, player A, who is my starter, he gets about 25 minutes of film in a week. But player B, who's nipping on his heels, I can look in here, he's rewatched our whole season. Then I can go talk to him and say, hey, what are you picking up on there? Well, Coach, I saw this when we get into this situation, we like to run this play. I just kind of wondered if this may be better suited, blah, 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 blah. Right? So that individual work at this time of year is what can separate people. And it gives you an opportunity to become a master of your craft. And I think that's very overlooked because a lot of the stuff that kids get into now, the competitive catch circuit will go out there and the coaches will tell the kid what play to run and where to throw it and why you do it. And they never learn. They don't understand that in this too high coverage, we're going to run this concept. We're going to put that safety in conflict because the corner can only carry him so far. These guys want to come out and man up. Now we're going to run meshes all over the field and try to get a coverage guy rubbed against another coverage guy. We're going to have a guy wide open. They don't teach them why. They teach them, listen to me, the coach, because my career didn't go the way I wanted it to, so now I got to live through you, and I'm going to make you successful. Then I'm going to pass you off, and you're not going to know a damn thing about reading the coverage. That's why I hate that league. I hate competitive catch more than anything in my life because they don't teach fundamentals. And then I'm looping them all together. There are a couple out there that are good. But when the kid can go in and put that work in, that's what coaches are looking for. They're looking for motivated, self-starter people. They don't want to babysit. They have to babysit the adults, the babysit boosters and all that crap. They want kids that are driven to go be great on their own.
Matt Vrzal's with us, Hail Varsity Radio at Verz51, host of Husker Hangover. And Verz, a thought here on the Andy Reid, Travis Kelce bump in the Super Bowl. I'm going to go to the Super Bowl here and reaction to it. And did you ever see anything like that on the sideline during your playing career in Nebraska?
The second question, dear God, no.
I didn't think so. Yeah.
The first question, if you look at now, this is the differentiation between NFL and college. Mm-hmm. Okay, in college, there's still a fear aspect. There's still, I need this guy's letter of recommendation for whatever career I choose. I should probably not piss him off a whole bunch. In the NFL, they have immense respect for Andy Reid. They are, buddies, but the money is different. The kid is making, or the NFL guy is making as much, if not more money than the head coach. Now, Andy Reid is not at fault in this because Kelce threw his helmet when Kansas City faked a punt, and then they got the ball back, and the trainer was trying to get Kelce his helmet. Andy Reid took it, said, don't give it to him. And then as Kelce was trying to get his helmet back, Andy threw a shoulder into him.
Yep, that was Oakland game, or the Raider game, yeah.
They have a relationship. It may not have been last year, maybe a couple years ago, but my thing is they're both passionate people. They don't want to be made to look a fool. And Kelce knows he's in a big moment. and he knows he's not a part of what they're doing on the field, and he knows if they get him the ball, it can be going better. Did the wires cross and he lose it? Yeah, 100%. But I'd rather have a guy like that goes at it, and it's unfortunate he bumped into Andy Reid. Andy Reid didn't seem to make much of a deal of it. He just had to calm him down. Say, listen, man, we'll get you the ball. Just don't bump into me. I'm old, and I got a new hip. And if it wasn't on the Super Bowl and 8 million cameras weren't on Kelson, his doings on the field, we probably wouldn't have seen much of it. But it happened, and they're fine with it. That's their organization. I'm not in their organization, so it doesn't bother me. So I don't know why everybody's getting all worked up.
So maybe Elijah Herbel is not a homer after all.
No, you're fine. Listener piled
Noted
on poor
Chiefs
Elijah.
fan,
Yes,
Elijah
noted
Herbel.
Chiefs fan. There's not a day that Elijah don't roll in Denver gear. He took some shots yesterday, but it's all good. No, I mean, I think these two personalities are unique enough to be able to hug it out immediately, to your point, and that's special. But it's shocking. It's jarring to see at the NFL level, and God forbid if it happens in the college level or high school level, because you've got passionate folks, but there is still a chain of command.
There is. I agree with you. And if you don't think it's going to start to trickle down, you're wrong. You're going to see it. They're grown ass men. Like, that's the 1% of the 1% of the 1% of football players. That's alpha, apex, predator, competitor, both sides, Andy Reid and Kels. So I mean, it's honestly, we love to get upset at the pushback, right? Do you remember Bill O'Brien and Tom Brady on the sideline?
Yeah, they're spiking iPads.
They were each other out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these guys aren't kids. They know as much, if not more, than some of the coaches that coach them. And a lot of my buddies that have played in the NFL will tell you that. Mm-hmm. They'll tell you that there's some dorks that possess NFL jobs because of their last name. Now, I'm not saying that's Kelce and Andy Reid, but you have a dude that knows, hey, for whatever reason, we ain't getting me the rock. I'm open. Give me the ball, and let's go. Like, we aren't pissing this Super Bowl away. And I hate Kansas City. I hate everything about Kansas City. I do not like the city. I do not like George Brett. I do not like the Chiefs. I do not like Kansas City, period. Their barbecue is overrated. None of it. So I don't think there's much. I think we try to make something out of it because he bumped into his coach on the sideline.
I'm with you 100%.
Verz, this was a pleasure. Always love chatting with you, and hope to catch up with you at a ball game sometime, man. Thanks for a few minutes today.
Yeah, so I'm going to be selling beers there at the game.
I know. That is, first one's on me for your kindness over the years.
The next 8 are on me.
Yeah, I appreciate the offer, boys, but the last time I had a beer, my throat swelled shut, so I'm gonna pass on both of that for you.
What? Do we have a beer allergy?
I don't know. I mean, I was fat for a long part of my life, and I could drink a lot of beer, but then when I got a little less fat, then I had a beer at a tailgate, and I was like, oh, this is how it ends. this is how it ends. But my guy Nate Swift poured me a couple Bloody Marys, and the vitamin B got me back breathing again. So.
The vitamin B.
That's so funny. Almost killed by beer, but saved by Bloody Marys.
Yeah.
Well, Swift really wasn't believing me at the time. He's like, are you just doing this so I make you Bloody Marys? And I was like, not really, but.
You're referring to Nate, not Taylor, correct?
No, that was Nate.
Okay, I just making sure.
The GOAT, Nate Swift.
I love Nate or Swift, but it wouldn't surprise me if you're hanging out with Taylor, so it's all good.
It would surprise me greatly.
Verz knows everybody.
I know a couple. I know a little bit about a little bit.
Verz, you be good and keep that vitamin B going.
Sounds good, boys.
Good to spend time with Matt Vrzal. Appreciate him. We'll shift and chat some Big Ten and Big Red. Mat Schick of ESPN. Schick and Nick coming up at Hail Varsity on a Tuesday. We're powered by Cornhead Lager.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it at Hour 2 at Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. We welcome in with ESPN, Sirius XM, and, of course, the Schick and Nick Show. Mat Schick with us at ESPN_Schick. Schick, how was the Super Bowl experience at your house?
Yeah, it was interesting. I'm a Bills fan. My 8-year-old son is a Chiefs fan because he's a bandwagoner. I mean, he's kind of grown up with Mahomes, and so all he knows is winning. And so he was cheering for the Chiefs, and I had some side action on 49ers. So it wasn't a great night overall, but it is what it is. We had fun though. Mom cooked. My wife cooked a lot of good food, and we enjoyed the game. And my pocketbook was lighter, and Beckett's heart was full. So I guess that's what really matters, right?
Well, and there's this go against, the heart versus the head bet, right? So in our family, I had a couple of loved ones that they would every Thanksgiving they'd lay heat on OU, and if Nebraska won, then it was okay. It's like they were paying for the win, but that's then sometimes it was great. Nebraska'd figure out a way to. This is weird to even utter on the air. Lose at the end with some Sooner magic, and you'd win. So I guess that was that's what the beer money was for, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like having fantasy players that are competing against your favorite team.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like, well, if my fantasy team wins, it's great. If they don't play well, that means my favorite team wins. So, yeah, it's kind of you just want to be able – it's like hedging, the emotional hedging of your bet.
Did you threaten the Chiefs fan with going to bed? I mean, it was a school night, and it did go overtime.
Well, I did when he started to, bemoan the fact that the Chiefs couldn't get any drives going in the first half. They started to whine. It's a 4-quarter game, right? You've got 15 at quarterback. Trying to explain, how games are long and how games are not won or lost in the second quarter is tough for an 8-year-old to understand. But, it was. We knew they were staying up, and we knew that. East Coast time's just terrible. The game's over at 10:30, so we understood. Hey, you're probably going to sleep in tomorrow and let you go into school a little bit later, which they did. And people say, that's kind of lazy parenting. I say, you know what? I'd rather them go into school late, vibrant and behaving than get there all grouchy. That's really a pain in the butt for the teachers, who many of them don't want to be there anyway. So let's be honest.
It's Matt Schick with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Matt, you mentioned something I want to get your take on, not sports related, but you said Eastern time sucks. I have friends in all 4 time zones. I'm a firm believer in Central time supremacy. Are you in the same boat?
Yeah, I will go toward Mountain. I've lived in Mountain, and Mountain for NFL Sundays is perfect. NFL Sundays in the Mountain time zone, games are on at 11 and 2. It's perfect. West Coast is bad. Pacific's way too early, and then taking a trip to Hawaii, and you don't even know what country you're in at that point. But Central's fine. The good thing about Central is that whether it's tape programming or live programming, you don't have to do any math. You're seeing it at the right time. Whereas Mountain time, it's still playing at. It's like in Mountain Time taped programming. If it's at 9, 8 Central, that means 8 o'clock your Mountain as well, which means everyone else has seen it. So it's one of those things. I just think Central's fine. I'd say Mountain is better. I love basketball games tipping off at 5 o'clock, 6 at the latest. Central doesn't really help you a whole lot when you're trying to watch those West Coast games, and that's really where Central's biggest handicap and Achilles heel is. You want to watch a West Coast game, Central Time's only going to buy you an hour.
You just got to gut through it and stay up late for the old West Coast Conference or Pac-12 after dark. Well, not for long, but at least one more off season.
But Matt does bring up a very interesting and important point in that Central Time, you don't have to deal with the math, and for the former broadcasting majors of the world, that's huge. It's a well-known fact. Broadcasters and math does not go hand in hand, so I think that is a big point in favor of Central Time.
Schick, are you the exception to the math rule?
The Matt rule? No, sorry.
No. to the math rule.
I am. I'm pretty I'm pretty decent with math. The kids come to me for their homework stuff. Of course, they're teaching it in a different way now, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I can help them through the math, ratios, percentages. When my son, he just got a note from his teacher, he's in 7th grade, said, hey, you did the best in your percentages test out of everyone in the class. And I feel like she should make that card out to me. I feel very, very privileged by that.
Put it on your fridge. Matt, I want to get your thought on the UCLA gig, and Nebraska fans were a little nervous about Tony White. The carousel this late is really unheard of, but the Saban retirement caused a lot of dominoes with DeBoer to Bama, and then, of course, Fish to Washington, and rosters were just not even rated, but just depleted. Kids went to the portal when there was a coaching change, and we were talking about UCLA's hiring of Foster and just kind of the bombshell of Chip Kelly stepping down and taking a coordinator gig for less money under a guy he used to coach. So a thought on the UCLA gig as they enter into the Big Ten, and then just an overall take on what Chip Kelly did.
Well, first of all, I think Chip Kelly taking an offensive coordinator position, regardless of the school, and leaving UCLA as the head coach is like a manager at a restaurant becoming a waiter. And that tells you everything you need to know about the job. Now, that's not to say you can't succeed. In fact, Chip Kelly did very well there at UCLA, did better than his predecessors. He was winning 8-9 games a year. There wasn't a lot of substance to those wins, but he was getting it done. The fact that Chip leaves that for Ohio State tells you a lot about Ohio State as well. But it was surprising. I caught wind of it Friday morning when Bill O'Brien took the Boston College job and even said it on Big Ten radio. It was like, keep your eye out for Chip Kelly because this thing could be going down. And then he does. He wasn't long for that UCLA job. Anytime you're interviewing for a few NFL jobs, you can't recruit to it anyway. So perhaps he didn't have many other options and knew he needed to leave. And that's also why he gives his assistants an extra year or two and fought for them for a couple of years on their contract. So that was smart for Chip and benevolent of Chip. But the UCLA job, to me, it's a great university with not a lot going for it on the football field right now. And a lot of that has to do with everything off of the field. They just don't have NIL infrastructure right now. And that's where Deshaun Foster is going to have to step in. And his biggest thing is going to be the CEO. It's not going to be, you want to be able to manage your team and you get that, 4th down calls, all that. You got to recruit talent, retain talent, and recruit fundraising. And that's what they're going to have to do. The laws and regulations could change on that, but that's going to be where talent is won or lost, and ultimately where games are won and lost. And I don't think Chip had the backing that he wanted, and frankly, UCLA took the smart way out by hiring Deshaun Foster and the easy way out because you don't have to buy out any assistants. You get a coach on the cheap, and you get a coach that wants to be there. So they're kind of between the rock and a hard place finding a coach, and hopefully Deshaun Foster can figure it out. But if you're looking at tiers in the Big Ten, like Tier 4/Tier 5 in the Big Ten, and it's going to be hard to pile up wins in this league for UCLA in the near future, I think.
Well, as you look at the tiers in the Big Ten, UCLA obviously near the bottom, but what are your thoughts on Ohio State with the addition of Chip Kelly? Because Michigan, a lot of change there. I know they hired internally, but you still lose Harbaugh. Ohio State, they've had a great program that's really just been unable to beat Michigan, and now you add Chip Kelly. Is Ohio State your team to beat in the Big Ten now?
Yeah, I think they could be preseason number 1. Maybe top 3 at the worst. They do have a question at quarterback in terms of who it's going to be or how good Will Howard's going to be if he is the guy. But there's a lot surrounding him. I've called them the most interesting team going into next season with all not only the players they got in the portal with Quinshon Judkins or Caleb Downs or Julian Sayin or Will Howard, but frankly the guys that decided to stay. Guys along the defensive front, JT Tuimoloau, Travion Henderson at running back, guys in the Proctor, guys in the back end on defense. This is a team, Emeka Egbuka at wideout, a team that is going to have all of the pieces yet again, and happening at a time where Michigan's in transition and Oregon's coming into a new conference. So I think it's right there for Ohio State. I think within the next 5 years, this is a program that needs to, and I think will win a national championship. The only question they got to figure out is can they get the quarterback and the offensive coordinator on the same page and get rolling here. But I'm really impressed with what Ohio State did, and I think with Jim Harbaugh leaving and a new head coach coming in at Michigan, and a lot of questions in other programs, I think Ohio State is in a prime position here. And I know they've heard that before, but in a great spot to maybe take advantage of all that. Plus, oh yeah, by the way, they're the most talented team in the conference.
You know, Matt, you look at Kelly and the quarterbacks that have worked for him. Does it seem like a pretty good fit with Will Howard, his skill set?
Well, they've had different. Yeah, I think it does. You know, the interesting thing about even a program like Ohio State is they've had different quarterbacks do a lot of different things. I was talking to, and yes, I will name drop, on signing day, talked to Ryan Day, and we were talking to him about just his quarterback room and what that looks like moving forward. And granted, this was days before he hired Chip Kelly, but you know, this isn't like hey, we got to recruit the right kind of quarterback for whatever system we're going to run. I mean, Dwayne Haskins was different from J.T. Barrett, who was different from Cardell Jones, from Braxton Miller, to Justin Fields, to C.J. Stroud. Like, they all have different skill sets. They're all very good athletes. Kyle McCord was a little bit different, and they still were a maybe fourth-quarter drive away from perhaps playing for a national championship. And so I think Chip Kelly will be able to figure it out. The quarterback room is just loaded right now. I don't know. I would say in the next 18 months, either Aaron Nolan or Julian Sayin is going to be transferring out of Ohio State. That's a pretty good quarterback that'll hit the market. I don't know how you keep them all happy with one football, but that's a good problem to have. And I think Will Howard is a fine quarterback. I don't know how much of an upgrade he is from Kyle McCord. I'd say a half a step up. But at the same time, it looked like he was getting beat out by Avery Johnson at Kansas State. For the nice new briny shiny new object. So, but I think because of all the talent around him, I think Chip Kelly will be able to figure it out with Will.
A few more minutes. Mat Schick continues with us on the other side. It's Hail Varsity on a Tuesday. We're powered by Cornhead Lager.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Matt Schick with us, Sirius XM, Big Ten Radio, ESPN, and the Schick and Nick Show. Schick, we're not far from spring ball with Nebraska. You mentioned Ohio State's probably most interesting to you. How interesting is Nebraska as you look at 2024? FanDuel's out with win totals over the weekend, and they have Nebraska at 7.5 over under.
Oh, I would probably take the under simply because they haven't hit the over of 5.5 in years. So I think, give me 6, give me 7. Anything more than that is terrific. I think the one thing that makes Nebraska really interesting is that when it comes to Bill Connolly just did I'm sure you guys have talked about it, but in terms of the returning production in the Big Ten, they're at the top. And that's very significant in this conference. Look at the schedule coming up. You're at Ohio State. You avoid Michigan. There are some opportunities there for this team to accrue some wins in the early going. So I would still take the under. I'd probably lean towards 6 or 7 wins simply because I don't know how much more talent they're going to have than the opposition. I think they might have better coaching than much of the opposition, but at the same time, these are coin flip games, and if you can win 6 and drop 6, that's a good season in Nebraska nowadays, considering where they've been the last 6-7 years. So I would take the under.
Well, Matt, you gotta believe in the law of averages at some point. I think, and I don't have the stats pulled up, but if I remember correctly, I believe it's been 8 consecutive years of Nebraska hitting the under on their win total. So at some point, it's got to flip, right?
I mean,
at some point, they got to lower the over/under. That's really the problem.
Wow, that's a good point.
This is a Vegas problem here. Let's make it 6.5. Let's make it 5.5. Like, at least give Husker fans something to make money on and capitalize on. They're betting on their team and going over, and they keep hitting the under. This is not good. Vegas has got to wise up here.
Yeah, right. Because they've been hurt so often. You have Ohio State and Oregon at 10.5 on the win totals. Michigan and Penn State at 9.5. You've got a log jam of 7.5 over-unders. Nebraska, Iowa, Washington, SC, Maryland. And then you have whiskey kind of by itself there at 6.5, and then a ton at 5.5. Who's a team that you're mildly intrigued by that could surprise, either as newbies into the Big Ten or old guard that makes a climb up?
Well, I would love to say Iowa, but they're not surprising anybody. What was Iowa's over under?
They're right at 7. They're right at 7.5 with Nebraska.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa feels like a simple overplay on that one, but I don't think that would surprise you. I mean, anyone who's like 7.5, whether there's 6 wins or 9 wins, it's not really a surprise. In terms of intriguing teams, I'm actually interested in how Curt Cignetti's moxie plays in the Big Ten.
Indiana.
We talked to him last week. And I just said, where does this moxie and brashness come from? And he goes, man, I've just been coaching so long, I just don't have a filter anymore. I just kind of give, sometimes I'll tell people what they want to hear. I'm like, really, Kurt? I mean, even telling the crowd at basketball arena that Purdue and Michigan and Ohio State all suck? He's like, yeah, I did that. And it was off the cuff. He didn't pre-plan that. But it's like he's won everywhere he's been, right? So what does that look like in the Big Ten? I don't know. I think the real issue for if you're not Tier 1 or Tier 2, by Tier 1, it's Oregon, it's Ohio State, it's Michigan. Tier 2, you got a Penn State. I don't know who else you'd put in Tier 2. Tier 3, maybe it's USC, it's Wisconsin. If you're not in those top 2 or 3 tiers, how do you move up? How do you accrue those wins and move up in this huge conference? Like, what? It's one thing to finish 3rd in the Big Ten West. It's another to finish 9th in the Big Ten. Like, what does that mean? And how do you recruit to that? How do you move up? And what victim are you? You're just at a mercy of the schedule, like you typically are, but especially if you're a middling program like a Minnesota, like a Nebraska, like programs that have been trying to reach that next step. So I don't know if there's any surprises anymore. What does a surprise look like? Winning 8 games instead of 6? Like, making the playoffs is going to be the standard for programs, and unfortunately, some of those programs, it's unattainable on a consistent basis.
How does it strike you that Minnesota's at 4.5 wins? Obviously, it's not the same Minnesota squad they've had over the last couple of seasons, but 4.5 still seems like such a low number for what PJ Fleck has built up there.
Yeah, I haven't looked at their schedule to see exactly why it would be that low. I thought they'd do better this year than they did. I am interested, and we talked to PJ about this too on our Big Ten radio, about Max Brosmer, who they loved when they got him in the portal. Very smart guy from New Hampshire, set some records there. He's moving up from FCS to FBS at Minnesota. What does that look like? Joe Rossi and replacing him at defensive coordinator becomes a huge issue. So that to me is one of those that I could certainly see them winning anywhere from 4 to 6 games, maybe 7. That 11-win season from a few years ago just seems like a lifetime ago. And I think for programs like Minnesota, it's just going to be a slog to get to that 8-9 win plateau.
Mat Schick with us, Sirius XM, Big Ten Radio, ESPN, and the Schick and Nick Show. Schick, we'll let you out on this. How are you feeling? How are you hedging with Nebraska basketball as they've got a handful of home games? We know what the road story's been. Do they change who they are, or are you still sweating on Selection Sunday?
I feel like I'm on this island by myself where I'm not completely sold that they have to win a road conference game to make it to the NCAA tournament. Like, you lose, say they lose to Indiana, Ohio State, and Michigan on the road. You beat Penn State, Minnesota, Rutgers at home, and you get a win. You have to win a game in the Big Ten tournament. I mean, you're at 21 wins. Like, is that good enough? I mean, right now, most bracketologists have them on the right side of the bubble. I think certainly winning a road conference game takes a lot of the sweat off and allows you to dry some of it off. But you look at this conference, like put 7 or 8 teams in a hat. You've got 7 or 8 teams that are, within a win or two of each other in conference play. No one's winning on the road. It's not just a Nebraska thing. They might be one of the only ones that have a goose egg in it, but there's not a lot of winning that happens away from home. And so, they've got some winnable conference games, but Ohio State looks pretty good. You certainly don't want to go into the Big Ten tournament stumbling after a loss to Michigan. And I would, if I'm Nebraska, I'd be concerned looking at that Rutgers team that looks like it's been kind of hitting their stride, and they've got them in the penultimate game of the regular season. But I still think Nebraska finds a way to get into the NCAA tournament and clean it up at home. Maybe they steal a road win, maybe they don't. But I think they'll be on the right side of the bubble on Selection Sunday.
Schick, we'll check in as we get closer to March. Thanks for a few minutes with us.
You got it, guys. Anytime. Enjoy the weather.
Gotta love it. Matt Schick with us, Sirius XM, Big Ten Radio, ESPN. Schick and Nick show at Schick_ESPN. Reminder about your friends and catch the excitement, the Supernovas. Pro volleyball in Nebraska, in Omaha, CHI. Be a part of the experience, be a part of the fun, and be a part of a season ticket package or single game tickets. Supernovas.com. Log on today, get your single game or season tickets right now with the Supernovas.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, a Tuesday edition, Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark. And tell a friend, subscribe, hit that like button for the Hail Varsity Radio Show, the Hail Varsity YouTube channel where you can watch and rewatch or just get caught up on your own time. Spotify, iTunes, Google Play with Hail Varsity Radio, the platforms you hear the podcast, can get the podcast, and the Hail Varsity Radio Twitter feed at HVarsity Radio. Find Elijah on Twitter at Herbal Essence. Find Connor. Give him a follow on Twitter at C_Clark_27 at Schmidt_radio for me, Chris Schmidt. So some comments here as we had plenty of hour 2 talk about the win total at 7.5. Be sure to check out Brandon Vogel's column with Counter Reed. Good stuff on that. Jim kicks things off. Back to the start of hour 1 with Verz, and apparently
tell us how you really feel.
Jim's just Jim. I assume you're a KC guy. Drunk Monk weighs in and is all about KC hate. I like Verz. And then Brandon checks in with some hoops here as we were talking with Schick about that to end the segment. The thing, if you only have 2 to 3 road wins, the tournament will matter a lot because nobody has that many wins on the road. You've got like UConn and Purdue and North Carolina are your collection of 3. And Kansas has been okay, but how many times do you see a team vying for a number 1 seed get beat by 40? Excuse me, 30. It was almost 30 last night. 29 points. Rock Chalk got destroyed. It's dismantled by Texas Tech.
This year's different. This is the first time in 15 years that AP top 10 teams have been under 500 on the road on the season, which is a crazy statistic. Usually they're like at an 800 winning percentage on the road against non-top
70% of teams lose on the road this year.
I mean,
that's unreal.
And even in the AP top 10, they're sub 500 across the top 10
teams. You can
teams.
go get stung. Right? You go get stung, but KU got stung this year by West Virginia that didn't sniff in the tournament. Hate to pile on Jayhawk Nation here because I like KU.
It kind of speaks to the parity in college basketball that we've been seeing in every single NCAA tournament since the transfer portals opened up. The trend's now just continue into the regular season. You have parity everywhere. There's a lot of 4- and 5-year guys moving their way up from lower levels of basketball and playing for teams that they might not make the tournament, but they're a collection of good players.
Back to our win total, and Brandon chimed in with his prediction here. And again, we're going to couch all this by our way too early, over/under 7.5. 10-2 is where Brandon comes in. He's like UCLA's garbage. This will be the year that Nebraska beats Iowa and Wisconsin both. They both lose to Nebraska, so good work, Brandon. We appreciate you. We got to find a way to call in sick for the opening weekend.
College World Series and make it out to Spearfish?
Yeah, we got to get out to Brendan's wedding and do a show from either Deadwood or Spearfish.
From the blackjack table?
Or both.
Today in Husker News hit me.
Yeah. And then we get Kranak on the phone to reenact the Joe Pesci scene without the swear words, if possible, from Casino. Remember that memorable moment with Joe Pesci's at the blackjack table? Take this stiff. Yeah, you can't go any further without not being here tomorrow. So we will be back tomorrow at 4. Everyone have a good Tuesday. Back for you at 4 with Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager. Thanks for listening.